an individual who has been in the music industry since the 1980s and who has also performed internationally in Canada, the United States, and in South America. We go to our field reporter Cole Alford, who's at the scene. Take it away, Cole. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you first get interested in music?
Well, actually, I was 7 years old, and my mother forced me to take piano lessons at the age of 7. Most parents do force their children to do music lessons. However, what she didn't know was I was already hardwired to be a musician.
Wow. So then what happened after that?
Well, I took several years of lessons from John Martin and Mrs. Facey in Polson, Montana, and then at that point I became interested in the clarinet, and in the 5th grade our band instructor, who was Richard Schlatter at the time, went through our 5th grade class and basically told us what instruments we were going to play, and by coincidence I ended up with the clarinet, and I would say my passion was in overdrive at that time. I couldn't believe how easy the clarinet was to play in comparison to the piano.
So did you do any music in high school?
Oh, well actually then I in high school picked up the guitar, and my girlfriend Lynn and I formed the Girls Next Door, which now there is a band called the Girls Next Door, but we have a program from the Showboat that came into Polson. It was actually the SS Hodge, which did the docks in town, and he would once a year let us do like vaudeville and skits and stuff. And so my girlfriend Lynn and I came up with some kind of a rendition of Simon and Garfunkel tunes and learned to play the guitars, and then we've gone, wow, the guitar is so much easier to play than the clarinet. I know. Okay, then I went to college, and my very first day in college unloading the car, I realized I had forgotten my clarinet because I wanted to sign up for band and continue to play. And I wasn't really that interested in the piano at that time, nor was I interested in the guitar. I was just interested in playing in a band. And the classical music is so complicated, and you have to concentrate so hard on trying to produce the most beautiful classical pieces in the world, and I loved the challenge. So I thought, well, when I go home this weekend I'm going to grab my clarinet. Well, when I went home I couldn't find it.
Ooh.
And I thought, well, you know, maybe it's just misplaced when I was unloading my stuff, so never did find my clarinet. And I was just absolutely distraught that I couldn't find my clarinet. I lost all interest in music completely and didn't play anything at all for 10 years.
Wow.
Then I was out, you know, in the interim I had finished my 4 years of college, and by the way it was a 2-year college and I went for 4 years, but I loved it. And I had gotten married. My husband and I were at the Silver Boot in Kalispell, and there was a band called the Moran Sisters, and there was a fiddle player, Julie Moran. I went, oh, that looks like it would be an absolute blast to play. So I looked at my husband and said, someday I want to learn to play the fiddle. And he says, someday never comes. When are you going to do it? Well, you know what? That was the best advice I ever heard from anybody, because someday gives you permission to put your life on hold. So I said, well, I don't have a fiddle. I don't know any fiddle teacher, so I really don't have an answer to that. And he goes, my dad has one in the closet. We will go over there tomorrow. We'll dig it out. We'll find you a teacher, and I'll be darned, in 2 weeks I was playing the fiddle with Kay Gardner in Kalispell. She was Country Girl Kay, and she was in a band with her husband in California, and he was actually murdered, and she became a recluse, and I don't know how we found her, but she very rarely left her little apartment, which was over the Sykes Grocery in Kalispell, which is still there. And I couldn't believe how easy the fiddle was to play. It was just like every single instrument was just precluded what came next. And then my son and I came up with a saying, you bow it, blow it, pluck it, strum it, squeeze it, they're all the same, which is true. You just figure out the mechanics of it. And then I realized my true passion was the fiddle.
Wow. Well, you now own Fiddlesticks School of Music. So how did you go about acquiring that business?
Well, that was actually through a divorce, and I realized I was working at the county extension office, and even though it was a county job, it was very difficult to support myself on just one income. So I thought, well, if I taught, that would give me a supplemental income, so I started teaching just the basic fiddle, and I was in Seattle for some reason, I don't even know why, and there was an old secondhand store that was called Fiddlesticks, and I went, oh, that would be the coolest name for my business, Fiddlesticks School of Music. So in 1983, it got an official name, but I actually started teaching in 1981.